Welcome to the Asking Why podcast. Our goal is to get to the root issues of systemic problems using a theological and psychological lens. We hope you enjoy. Great conversations don't happen by accident. Big thanks to Wellness by Dr. Natalia for helping make Asking Why with Clint Davis possible. Supporting meaningful dialogue, deeper thinking, and questions most people don't stop to ask. Learn more about wellness by clicking the link below. Welcome to the Asking Why podcast. I'm your host, Clint Davis, and I am super excited about this episode. You guys have heard me talk about good pictures, bad pictures, for many episodes. And so today's guest is Kristen Jensen, the founder of Defend Young Minds, which you've also heard me talk about, and best-selling author of Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, which has helped hundreds of thousands of families equip children to navigate the digital world safely and confidently. Kristen is a nationally recognized advocate for protecting children online and empowering parents with practical tools to prepare children before they are exposed to harmful content. Kristen, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Clint.
Yeah, we were talking before. I just for my audience, I have an 8.5 and 11.5-year-old boys, and Good Pictures, Bad Pictures is one of the first books we started reading when they were 3 and up, and the junior, and then we've graduated to the new one. And so when I got your publisher's email in saying you had a new book coming out, Guide for Girls, I was super stoked, and I read it, and it's incredible. And I'll just show the picture here for those on. And it's not out yet, right? Or is it out?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it is out. Okay.
Yeah. It
That's
came
awesome.
out in April.
Okay.
March. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm losing my time frame here, but it was it was a #1 release on Amazon and #1 bestseller. So we were very excited about that.
So tell me, how did you get into writing this? Give me your backstory a little bit.
Yeah, what's a nice girl like me, doing, thinking
I
about.
feel the same way.
Yes. Well, I moved to a new town with my husband and met a woman who had a large family, and she was doing everything she could to protect her children from sexual abuse and from all the things, right? But then she found out that her 17-year-old son had been sexually molesting his younger brothers and sisters. So from the 14-year-old down to the 4-year-old. And
Devastating.
it was absolutely devastating. They actually had to turn him in. He wouldn't stop, and they turned him in before he turned 18 because they knew what would happen once he was an adult in the eyes of the law. So that led to a very long conversation one night, and I woke up the next morning and I just had this kind of pulsating thought in my mind. How are we going to warn the young children? Because obviously, pornography had been a problem with this young man.
And what year was this?
This was back in 2011.
Okay.
Seems like it's 15 years ago.
Yeah. So the iPhone had just come out, a few years earlier, 2009. Right. It's just getting in the hands of kids, teenagers.
I bet, but he had a computer.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So he had access.
But we had Instagram, we had Snapchat, all that stuff is available in 2010. So
sure. I actually met with him several years later after he had gone through a program for boys in our state that had offended on other children. And there were 8 other boys in his cohort. And all of them, well, I should say none of them had a hands-on perpetrator. And that's usually, you think, oh, well, if a kid is acting out on another kid, they must have had an adult.
Right. Well, that used to be the stat.
Used to be the stat. But now, none of those boys had a hands-on perpetrator. It was all pornography, all driven by pornography. And I've been to conferences about kids that are offending on other kids. And same deal, you're seeing this. I think there's a hesitancy to come out and talk a lot openly about pornography, but when you get in the private conversations and in small classes, everyone is acknowledging that that's a problem. Same with child sexual abuse conferences. Very few people are going to talk about pornography from the podium.
Yep.
But once you get to them privately and say, hey, is this a risk factor? Is this a problem? Oh, yeah, definitely. And I had it in my presentation, but I just didn't have time to present that particular risk factor. I'm like, I know. It's not popular to talk about it. But in any case, going back to the original conversation, and I woke up the next morning, and what my goal was, because I've never had an original thought in my life, you think, oh, this would be so great. And you look online, it's already 3 versions of it sold on Amazon. So I thought that's what
Well,
would
not like
happen.
this. Yeah,
Well,
you
I
did
thought
it.
I would go on Amazon and find a couple of books, just like body safety books, about pornography and how you can warn children about it. And I was just going to buy these books and give them to her.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't find anything. And then I just had this crazy thought that I could write a book. I started doing some more, quote unquote research. Basically, it was just watching a lot of YouTube videos and reading articles, and found there were others that were talking about this, but nobody had really written a book, a read aloud book, a book that a parent could just like
Read with a
open and
kid.
start reading and read with a kid, just like you do with a lot of other topics. So that was the beginning of writing Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and then parents asked me to write one so that was for 7 to 11. And then parents asked me to write one for younger kids. And I remember the time when I was doing a presentation just locally, and a mom came up and said, do you have anything for like a 3-year-old? And I'm like, what? I mean, it felt like she kind of punched me in the gut because it took my breath away. It was like, oh, what? But then I looked around, so many 3-year-olds on iPads. And so that was kind of the impetus to write Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior, which is a gentle warning, right? A gentle way to begin that conversation. And
and let me camp out on that. I mean, I've used that thoroughly with my kids since they were 3. And just for people not knowing, you're taking them through a very general, what are good pictures? Good pictures are the sky. It's a boat. You can find them on billboards and in magazines and on phones. And then what are bad pictures? And bad pictures are other people's private parts. And what are the private parts? It's the parts of the swimsuits. And you do such a great job of having the illustrator, show this in a childlike way. And along the way, there's cameras that you can find, like a look and find, and you make it very interactive to where the kid is participating and looking while listening to you at that age. And it's the repetitive nature of doing that. And then, goes in, there's, I think, one sticky note in junior that says, and a big word for that's pornography. And then it leads
we actually took that out in the second edition.
Yeah, I thought so in the new edition. I didn't see it.
Yeah, because I had so many people, not so many people, I just saw a few people that like would fill that in with a Sharpie. And I'm like, you know what? If they're filling it in with a Sharpie, maybe it's okay to take it out, because at this point, probably most parents aren't going to use that word. But you know what? You can use the word. I don't think it's a problem. I feel like, but I want to meet parents where they're at.
Yeah.
And so with the next book, we definitely say the word pornography, and we're not going to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
It's
good.
We're going to say it. But this is the new one with the blue
I got
cover. And but we've updated a few things, and updated some of the advice in the back and some of the pictures. So
the advice in the back is great, because you sent me the updated copies and I have the old ones, and you just added a few more things in the back in the index. And to be honest, I mean, I was very inspired by you, just to encourage you, as a young therapist, a new therapist, as somebody who was exposed to pornography around 8 and had some sexual trauma as well, and is helping people in that world now as a CSAT, doing sex addiction work. It was kind of this we were really on the same path. I was working with people, got my CSAT, certified sex addiction therapy, working through all these kind of things. And I just kept getting tired of helping people recover. And then I had kids, and I was like, how do I prevent this? And yours was one of the first books, because I started doing that work around 2010. I was having this conversation in grad school, and then into, I think I got somewhere around 2013 when I went to the CSAT world. I saw your book had come out, and I was, flipping through it. And at that point, I didn't have a kid yet. 2014, we had my first son, and I was like, well, as soon as he gets old enough, we're going to be talking about this stuff. And it's astonishing to me, though, Kristen, how long this book has been out, how much we can bang our heads against the wall, and how people still don't know that it's available. People still feel helpless, so to encourage you, I don't know what your faith background is, but as a Christian, like, man, you're putting good stuff in the world. And so I love what you're doing.
I'm a believer, and I couldn't have done
Awesome.
this without help from heaven. So,
Praise God.
but I felt particularly inspired to leave it kind of faith neutral.
Yeah, you did a great
because
job.
I felt like all of God's children deserve to know how to reject pornography. And we have the book all over the world. It is translated in languages like Russian, Chinese. It's coming out in Persian, in
It's
Iraq.
amazing.
It's coming out or Iran, actually. It's coming out in, anyway, it's all over the world, and in small languages and big languages. And I'm just so grateful
It's
that
incredible.
people of good people that want to help children are helping to spread the word about this book. And, we're almost at 400,000 copies sold. So I
It's
think that
amazing.
we're making an impact. I think each of those copies is being lent out to other parents as well.
Definitely. I've handed mine and let people borrow it many times. And
Yeah.
yes, you inspired me, led me to writing my book, Building Better Bridges. And, it's quoted multiple times in there, and I use it in all of my speaking. I probably speak 60 times a year on body safety in church. And I do a lot of speaking at churches on this topic. And I'm always referencing your book and giving examples. And so just, I told you before, like I'm fanboying because I'm just so thankful and excited, and knowing I wasn't sure if you were a believer, but the fact that you were, and that's really encouraging to me, just to see that the Lord, used you in my life and my career, not even knowing you. So anyway, I could dote on you forever,
Well,
but I really appreciate.
when you have those little thoughts come to you and they just are persistent and they lead you along, I think that's something that is significant. But
Absolutely.
again, parents can teach whatever their faith is, whatever their religion is, right? Whatever their belief in God is, they can teach that to their children. They have lots of resources to do that, churches and books and all kinds of things. What they don't have is a way to begin this conversation. What
That's
they're
right.
struggling with is just a way to begin that conversation, a script basically, and a way to just make it very comfortable. And it's easy to insert, if you want to insert scriptures or Bible verses or whatever into each chapter, I think that's a great Bible study. But that's not my work. My work is just to really provide a comfortable, science-based way to say this is harmful for your brain, and here's how you keep it from harming you. So I'm very confident that parents can meld both of those
But yeah, they
together,
definitely can.
and it's that's not a problem to be able to teach your children your faith. But I will say that I do see that pornography addiction, and you may see this too, erodes people's faith. It can pull them away from their church family. It can make them feel unworthy, all that. And so I have seen people pull away, and that's sad because, we all need help. And I hope that people can recognize, I'll just say this, Clint, that some of the best people I have ever met are recovered porn addicts. It's so true. I mean, some of the very best people I have met.
Well, I hope so, because the stat is, 76% of males in the last month have viewed pornography. So, it's like saying it's so sad to me, because this is what feeds into the shame and the neglect. But it's like, if we understand the root origins is that, we just weren't talked to about it. We weren't protected about it. We don't understand our bodies. We didn't have a guide from somebody. I mean, I love the new book. We can jump into that too, but the new book, Guide for Girls, you do a lot of talking about my body is not an object, and just even that language about consent and my body not, being an object, and teaching children not to objectify one another and not to allow themselves to be objectified. Then pornography doesn't make sense later. When you're building that in a child's brain and in their practice and in their thought processes and in their language, but if you don't do any of that, well, then pornography is very enticing, because you're so disassociated and disconnected from that modality in the first place. So you're right. I think whatever God value you have, whatever theological background you have, this is a everybody issue. This is a human issue. And so, you get into addiction and dopamine, you cover some of the things you cover in Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, but you gear it specifically for little girls in a beautiful way. So can you talk a little bit more about why you went from Good Pictures, Bad Pictures to the new book, Guide for Girls?
The Guide for Girls came about because there's 3 reasons. One, I started early on actually to meet women who were addicted to pornography. And that was kind of like,
new.
What?
Yeah.
What? I thought that was a guy problem. So I had fallen into that same myth, right?
Yeah. Well, it used to be. I mean, before the smartphone, the stats were very, very, lopsided.
Right. And women get into it differently. They get into it, honestly, they're very geared to relationships. So the erotic literature is very, a big deal. And
50 Shades of Grey really took off.
Totally. The second thing is, I started to see that these women were speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these women I saw at conferences, and they were speaking out about their addiction, and they were having the courage. And I thought, yeah, man, girls need to be warned. And then parents started asking me for a book for girls. And in fact, one mom just said, just change the pictures. Everything else is perfect. Just change the pictures. But I knew I needed to do more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I added a whole chapter on objectification. It's a big word,
great.
But kids can learn big words, and they can learn these concepts that you don't want to treat other people like they're an object, and the mom in the book uses a soccer ball.
Yeah.
Right. And she says, you can kick the soccer ball. Nothing bad's going to happen, right? But if you kick a person, that's a completely different situation. And she just talks about how when you objectify somebody, it's easier to hurt them. It's easier to treat them with violence, right?
That's right.
And so objectification really isn't a strong enough word. I wish there was a stronger word in the English language, but it feels like it should always be preceded by...
It's dehumanizing.
Yes.
Right. You dehumanize someone when you object them. You take them from...
Dehumanizing objectification or inhumane objectification. So we don't want to do that. And I think talking with children as they grow up and having more and more conversations about why, we need to not just say, don't look at porn, it's bad, it's sex, don't look at that. We have to explain why. We have to explain why it's harmful and what it can teach them. And those are the things that we don't want to be taught. We don't want our brains to be tricked into thinking that people are objects for basically consumption, for our entertainment. Right.
Yeah, that's great. That's such a huge thing. And that leads, one, it's a Imago Dei, right? It's a Christian ethic that we would treat everybody made in the image of God. But 2, it's teaching kids the foundation of racism, sexism, political discourse. We wonder why we're so divided and there's so much conflict and there's so much hate and anger. And it's like, because you're right, we dehumanize people. And one of the things that I do what's called restoration therapy. We've been talking a lot about how when we're in pain, right, and we're in pain because we feel unloved and we feel unsafe, a lot of people who've experienced sexual trauma or exposure to pornography or who have been neglected in these areas, they're in a lot of relational internal turmoil and they're going to pornography for self-soothing. But it's like the longer you stay in pain, the more that you start to polarize the people that you're looking at or the people you're in conflict with, whether it's a parent or whether it's a spouse or whether it's, a person online. And the more polarized a person gets, the more you start to have what's called a destructive entitlement. And this goes into that dehumanizing, objectifying, is that you start to see them not even as a person, not even as an American, not even as a human, but as an other. And then all of a sudden now you're justified, you're entitled to destroy them or yourself in the action. And pornography is very much like that. You're self-harming through pleasure with sexuality by dehumanizing another person. And you're right, like it's so... pervasive in childhood and so sets you up neurologically that really, really amazing people who love the Lord, struggle with these things. And scripture's clear, that people sin and people fall short, and nobody's worse than anybody else because they struggle with this. They just most likely were neglected and didn't have good pictures, bad pictures to read when they were a kid.
I met a young man, and he learned that I was the author of this book. He goes, "No way! My mom read that to me every day." He was like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
All the time. And I looked at him and I'm like, "Did it work?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, yeah, yeah." And I'm like, hallelujah. It's,
Yeah.
I am so grateful when I meet people and parents that have used the books and feel like it gave them the confidence to open up that conversation, and it gave those kids tools, talk about a definition, a warning, and a plan. And those are the three things in the books that every kid needs. They need to have a definition so they can recognize it when they see it. They need to understand why it's harmful to their brain, to their mind, to their emotional, mental health. And then they need to know what to do, a plan, what to do when they see it so they're not caught off guard. Because I don't know about you, Clint, when I'm caught off guard, I don't do very well at all.
No.
I do not. I'm not one of these people that can just like, boom, think on my feet. I'm always the person that's like, oh, why didn't I say that? I get caught off guard and I don't do my best. Kids get caught off guard. They get pulled in and tricked and addicted before they even know what's going on.
That's right.
So we can step up. We can warn children. We can prepare them to reject pornography and give them not only, an understanding of what it is in a very simple way. Like some people have asked, are there bad pictures and good pictures, bad pictures? Like, no. We left those out.
That's right. We don't need that explicit of an explanation.
We don't need that. It's just enough, because I've actually been accused of, I had a couple, hey, if you're an author and you don't get a couple of 1 or 2 star reviews, like you're not living. So I think
That's
that,
right.
I've got a couple where it's like, oh, don't take your kid to an art museum after reading this book because she basically says that all nudity, can be pornography. And I'm like, oh, we've got some articles on our website about the difference between art and nudity. And listen, if your kid sees nudity online, you probably want to know about it, right? Probably not looking at the Sistine Chapel,
That's
right?
What's funny,
So,
there's a podcast a long time ago, I talked about this, and I was using your good pictures, bad pictures. And I now explain this every time I talk, when I explain through the book and I explain like, hey, we're going to teach people that their bodies are good. I explained literally that we were teaching my oldest this. He was probably 4 at the time, and we were at Norton Art Gallery here in Shreveport, which is a beautiful art gallery. And he's like, turns around, he's like, got his eyes covered because in the book, for y'all that don't know, they say turn, close your eyes, look away, and run and go tell an adult, not with your eyes closed. That's also another. My boys will just run into a wall. But he comes up, he's like, I saw a bad picture, and I'm like, okay, what's up? So we go over, and we have this conversation like, hey, well, this is art. Some people see that this is the body is beautiful, and they're trying to display this, and depending on what culture you're in and where you're at, depends on the type of clothes, and it just opened the door for a beautiful conversation. And that's the point. By educating children on what your values are as a family, then when they have a question about something, they come and run to you. And that's kind of my core in my book and in my teaching is jumping off of how to. It's teaching parents the philosophy of why you build these bridges and these conversations. It's so they come to you as the expert, and so that if you're not a Christian or you're Muslim, or if you're Hindu, or if you're atheist or whatever, like you get to impose your values on your children. They're your kids. But man, don't you want them coming to you for that information instead of the internet or somebody else? And the way that they trust to come to you is that you teach them time and time again over time. Yep.
Because the internet is coming for them, right? Porn is predatory. It is coming for them. And they share it, kids share it all around. I I say that every school bus in America is a triple X theater because of, these things, these
That's right.
smartphones, and kids have them. And I have so many stories of kids getting exposed on
Me too. Every day.
buses. And so again, one mom told me that her 11-year-old daughter, she'd read good pictures, bad pictures. She was actually one of my beta readers. And
Nice.
her daughter went on a field trip, and on the way back, sitting next to a friend, and a boy came back with a smartphone, showed them pornography.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that had been warned, she turned away and like, nah, I'm not interested. But her friend kept looking. And so when she got home, she did what she was supposed to do. She told her mom, and that mom actually called the mother of the other girl to kind of
Mm-hmm.
explain what had happened, and so
Good
that
mom.
she could have that talk with her. But, often parents will be afraid of having this conversation because they don't want to take away their child's innocence. And what I say to that is, innocence is not the goal. Innocence is not the goal. Protection is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Having refusal skills, that's the goal. Preparing your child to reject pornography. Now, which one of those girls was actually going to lose their innocence faster and to a greater degree? The one that knew to turn away right away, or the one that kept looking? You tell me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we can get into a whole theological thing about innocent, but the reality is that it's nothing wrong with liking the body, with liking sexuality, with having a thought or a feeling that's developmentally appropriate. But what we're talking about specifically for your haters, I'll stand up against them a little bit. What we're talking about specifically is kids under 12 that are not developed, that have not hit puberty, that do not have an arousal template. I love that I talk about arousal template. You call it the attraction center in the book, which is a much simpler way. I'm going to totally steal it and use it as well and give you all the credit. But for little kids, yeah, that attraction center, what makes us look at boys or look at girls or look at the sun or look at these things and I have a feeling it's like before puberty, kids don't have that same biological thing. So when they see porn, when they get sexually abused, when they get exposed to adult content, it messes that up, that attraction center, that arousal template, to where by the time they hit puberty, they've already got kind of a default way of functioning. So you're
Right.
totally right that teaching people the proper way to think about it and then helping these kids practice doing that in the right way, it prevents so much dysfunction for when their bodies actually developmentally gear up and testosterone and estrogen and these things hit. They don't have all these pre-default settings that are jacked up.
Yeah, I think that children, they can get very intrigued by this. And then, it's just like, fuel on the fire when the puberty hits. But I have met several times, therapists, counselors. I've gone to the American Association of Christian Counselors and spoken there as well. And I have found that every single time I go, I hear about somebody that is treating a child as young as like 5, 6, 7,
Yeah.
For an addiction to pornography. And you're like, how does that happen?
Yeah. Did you see the
because
new Harvard study?
I think I have, but you probably have more details on it.
Well, it was just showing, because of people handing their kids iPads, that now there are, I think it was 800,000 or 200,000 children in the United States from 3 to 7 who were like addicted to pornography. And that's just, gosh, it's so heartbreaking to me because it's so preventative. But like you're saying, it's, parents don't understand. It's not because these 3 and 7-year-olds are going and looking for pornography. It's looking for them.
It's finding them, the algorithms. When I first started, I was doing a little video book trailer, and the guy that was doing this video for me, he says, I have a friend was sitting next to her daughter on the couch, and the daughter was on YouTube and just looking at a cute little video, and her mom was on her phone, and all of a sudden the little 3-year-old kind of jumps and kind of screams, and she looked down and she was seeing like bestiality with a tiger.
Yeah.
And like, what does that do? And then I've also heard of 3-year-olds that start to make videos of themselves trying to have sex with the family pet. And they're thinking, this one incident was like this, it must have a groomer because porn is definitely I believe it's like the number one grooming tool for kids,
100%.
for predators that are preying on children.
Yes.
And so this little 3-year-old saw, they were looking for a groomer. They were looking for an adult predator. But what they found out is that she had just been exposed to pornography and had started imitating, because we all know children are so imitative.
Yeah, they're going to act like a dog. They're going to act like a superhero. They're going to be a Jedi. Like, they're going to do whatever it is they're consuming.
They're watching, right? And so if they look at porn, and that's why that statistic, when I got started, of all reports of child sexual abuse, 40% were child on child.
That's right.
Now it's up to over 70%. And so what does that say? What is fueling this incredible rise in children harming other children? Well, it's porn. I mean, because they're not just doing kind of like normal things. They're doing
sexual things.
Imitating the porn sex that they're seeing.
That's right.
So we
if there were more
videos.
No, I'm with you. If there were more, people, if the videos, if the culture all of a sudden, painting faces became very popular, right? Like what you would see, if that's what the adults are doing, if that's what the culture is doing, is like, we're all starting to paint our faces. And that's the new American trend, is that we cover our face looking like clowns or looking like whatever. The only reason kids know that exists is either you're doing it or they're being exposed to it as children. And so, yeah, I mean, they would all be painting their faces, but they're not. They're sexually abusing one another. They're acting like animals. They're acting like, they're participating with things. And this is, those statistics are so true, and it's so preventable. I think research also says that, like, the things you're talking about, just reading Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, just reading my book and teaching parents like sexual health reduces sexual abuse by like 90-something%. And that, if I was going to win the lottery, right, the Powerball, and it was a 90% chance, you bet we'd all be buying lottery tickets.
That's right. It is something we can do. We can't control their environment. We can't raise them in a bubble.
Nope.
We can't, even if we think we can lock down everything in our home, which is debatable.
Yeah. The older we get, the less likely it is, right?
The minute they walk out the door, it's, all bets are off.
Well, and you're not trying to do that. You're not trying to put them in a bubble. And I think that's probably the other accusation that you get is, well, you're just trying to, you can't prevent everything. And it's like, goodness gracious, you're educating them.
Right. And that's the thing, is you want to prepare them so that they can have some way of protecting themselves. And you talked earlier about, maybe even before we started, about teaching children. I use this analogy too, like teaching children to cross the street safely. Yep. Don't run out into the street. Stop at the curb, wait for mommy, I'll hold your hand, that kind of thing, right? And the way we hold our children's wonderful. The way we hold their hand is we are the prefrontal cortex. We prepare them with a definition, a warning, and a plan. That's right. We help them so that they know what to do in these kinds of situations.
So one of the things in the book at the end that you talk a lot about in Defend Young Minds, y'all go even further, right? So can you talk a little bit about what Defend Young Minds is? Because I love it, but just so that our listeners, I'll link it and they can look on it, but kind of how that started and what else that's doing.
Yeah, well, Defend Young Minds is like our companion website. And we have guides there, for example, how to talk to kids about pornography, quick start guide, just gives basic facts, and also, some pointers on how to get this conversation started and to continue it. Defend Young Minds, we really believe that there are 3 iterative steps. Get the facts, arm the kids, continue the conversations. And so all of those things are so important. We have many free guides and a few that will help support our work on there. For example, we have a guide called My Kids Saw Porn, Now What? And
That's
parents, I'll tell you, if you're prepared and you know what to do, and you know to stay calm. We have like a SMART plan: stay calm, make a plan, assess your child's feelings, and also their exposure, and, train them to regularly talk to them and train them. So we have a plan, but we also have so many articles written by therapists and others, experts, that will answer questions and really help you take something that seems so negative and overwhelming and scary and turn it into an opportunity to love and teach and grow in a relationship with your child. So we've got that, and we've got a digital safety planner, and just tons of articles that are very timely. And, none of us can take it all in. It's kind of like drip, drip, drip. So I would love to invite people to join our newsletter, subscribe. If you download a guide, you'll be on our newsletter. And also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We really put out a lot of great content there, so helpful to parents. And we don't recommend social media for children. Absolutely not. I barely can handle social media
Right.
myself.
I got somebody who handles mine now,
Uh,
so I don't have to
I
look at
know,
it because it's such a
yes.
dumpster fire.
It can be, and it can do a lot of, just like everything, it can do a lot of
Sure.
good, but
Yeah,
there
we're
is
clearly on
the
there trying to do good things, right? Like we're not.
yes,
Yeah.
we're doing good. We're being positive voices, and I'm grateful for the platforms. But in any case, so Defend Young Minds is really, we used to um, be called Protect Young Minds,
That's
and we
right. Yeah,
changed
I
to
noticed the change.
Defend,
Yeah.
yeah, Young Minds, because a lot of people are saying, well, you can't protect them because they're going to see it. And I'd be like, well, but we mean protect them from like developing addictions and harms.
Yeah.
Finally, I just decided, let's just talk about defense, giving kids digital defense skills, because no matter where your child is in all of this, you can help them defend themselves, you can
That's right.
defend them, and be in a defensive position where you are guarding and helping them to guard their minds and their hearts, their mental health. There's so much now, so many studies showing that uh, porn consumption is linked um, to not only brain shrinkage, so they've done MRI studies, but also poor mental health outcomes,
But yeah.
even higher rates of suicide. And also, kids will use, like you mentioned before, they will use pornography to self-soothe, to deal with their negative feelings, because, I used to use chocolate cake in that same way,
That's right.
and in the
It's the
moment,
dopamine, right?
yeah, in the moment, it's great because it totally distracts you away from whatever you're, thankfully, I'm working on getting away from that, but it's so important. And actually, I just co-authored a paper called Why Kids Hire Porn. And
Mhm.
when I say hire, it's like they have a job to do. What are the jobs that they need to do as they grow up? And many of them hire porn for different reasons, for different jobs. And self-soothing is one of them. Learning about sex, of course, is another one. Even normalizing sexual abuse, we found
Mhm.
that is one of the reasons sometimes girls or even boys go to pornography to kind
Yeah,
of
it's
normalize
reenactment.
the
Yeah,
trauma. Yeah. So there's a lot of information,
it's
a lot of
great.
great articles, and
No, y'all have so
yeah,
much stuff on there. That's why I wanted you to talk about it. I've been using it
and
forever. I used it back
it
when it was Protect Young Minds, and
yeah.
you
And
is
before
there an
that, it
app?
was Porn Proof Kids. There's
Yeah.
not an app. There's
Okay.
not an app. I know, it's like there should be an app. Um, but it's kind of we keep looking at that option.
Yeah.
The
Well,
thing
do you know
about
Ever Accountable? Do you know the guys at Ever Accountable? Have you heard of them?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I'll connect. I'll send some stuff. But yeah, Ever Accountable is a great app that is protecting people from pornography, and it's like Covenant Eyes or any of those, but they're using AI to block things in ways that no other app is doing, and it's incredibly helpful. But the thing I've been talking with them about is what would it be like to partner with a couple of different teams of people, and where like there's no smart TV that has any kind of protection. So there's no app for a smart TV
Yep.
that can filter anything. And so we need, what would it be like to create a TV, either partner with someone or create something that's a safe, smart television along with a phone that also has, maybe Defend Young Minds content on it that people can share. And, if you're feeling called to look at something, like you teach about the target your thoughts in this book,
Right.
Maybe there could be a way that they could click on that app and then bring up a liturgy or a picture or a song that pulls them away from that imagery or that trauma. And anyway, I got a bunch of ideas, but I'll email you about it.
Clint, that sounds great. I've thought about a lot of different things. And what I need to do is make like 10 AI clones of myself. But the one real Kristen is like, I feel like my calling is to write the books so that parents can just kind of like use the books and have really these very warm and comfortable and powerful conversations with kids. But I love everyone that is out there trying to use technology to fight technology. And it's
we got to do it.
So important. So thank you for all your ideas. And I hope I would love to hear more about them. Going forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll connect for sure. Well, look, I want to honor your time. And again, I feel like my listeners, know you, love you, and probably all have your book, but hopefully more will have your book after today, and they'll have the new, especially, I'm a boy dad, so I don't have girls, but I'm constantly teaching and counseling people with girls. So your new book, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Guide for Girls, How to Stay Smart and Confident. And it's already best-selling. I know that. So thank you so much for the light you put in the world, the effort that you've made to fight against this. And I know what it's like to be in that minority and be like, why is the sex guy coming? Or it's the conversation. It's like, I thought I'd, be well known for marriage advice. And now it's like, I'm talking to kids about, pornography and masturbation and menstruation and development. And it's like, but these are the cornerstones and the foundations of a healthy human being. And so thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for the work you're doing and the effort you put into it. And I'll stay connected and we'll keep talking. Any closing thoughts from you?
Well, I would say that, when we talk with children about pornography, what we're doing is helping them. We're shining a light, on the darkness. And in the darkness, porn has power. But when we shine a light on it for our children, our kids have power.
That's right.
So shine that light and help them see the difference between, healthy sex and porn sex. Very opposite. And you will be giving your children the opportunity to have a beautiful, healthy life going forward, and not harmed by this horrible content. I am so grateful for the opportunity I have to do this work and to help parents. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I'm so grateful that I could talk with you, Clint, today.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. Please, the link will be in there for the Amazon to all of her books. But you guys, if you're a parent and you have kids and you don't have these books, I cannot urge you any more to order them today and start having these conversations. And if you need help, there's Defend Young Minds. You guys can email me. You can grab Building Better Bridges. You can go to our content, our YouTube page, all of our stuff. We love talking about this stuff. We want to defend our children and keep them from harm in the future so that we can have a better society. So God bless you guys. Have a good week.